coming up as unable to join. I was like, no, Instagram, you don't want to do this today.
No. Hello.
Oh, wow. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So, yes, we're going to just go straight to it. You are in for a treat. So, Evangelist Iyobosa is my sister as well, you know, and so she's part of my family. And so I'm just going to give you a little bit of background about her, and then I just hand it over to her for her to speak on the topic today. So Evangelist Iyobosa Moses is popularly known as Iyobo for Christ. She is a gospel artist with 6 albums and multiple awards. Her latest album is titled Balm of Gilead. She has represented Nigeria in Shenzhen in China in 2014 as Mrs. Globe in a beauty pageant. She's an evangelist, a preacher, an author, a teacher of the Word of God. She's also a songwriter, a worshiper, a motivational speaker, a mentor, an advocate, and a voice for the broken. She's married to Prophet Austin Moses. She's also a co-post pastor at the Manasseh Christian Center in Manchester, United Kingdom. She's also a mother to 6 children, and she's looking beautiful as well. And she's also blessed with so many spiritual sons and daughters throughout the world. She's written, I think, 3 books so far, right? And we've got Unleashed, the birthing season, Umute and Roar, Prison Break, and Mother's Prayer, the power of spoken words. So I read a quote today based on the topic that we're going to speak about, and the quote stated that it's not about finding your voice, it's about giving yourself the permission to use your voice. And you know, we all have a voice, but because of life challenges, because of the things that we've gone through in our life, trials and tribulations, it's quietened that voice. So when I think about Umute and Roar, what comes to mind is authority. What comes to mind is boldness. What comes to mind is courage. What comes to mind is power. But I also know there is a story behind that. And so I wanted you to talk about the book, the inspiration behind that book, and also about your journey and how we've gotten here. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. You are a sister indeed. And you've said about me. We are going straight to talk about the book today. It's about the book Umute and Roar. And I love the fact that you said the inspiration behind this book, because every one of my books have their own story. And you rightly said that the permission that you give yourself to allow your voice to come out, that is what this book is actually all about. Because we all have a voice. We all have something to say. We all have been designed for something, and something unique. But life happens to us, and we quickly crawl back into our shell. For me, I was at that time this very loud person. I am still this loud person, but let me go back to time. I was this loud person that was brave, and you always hear me come out and, you know, my chest forward. And so I was married and with 2 children then. And I was the choir mistress in my church. I thought nothing can go wrong now. This is life. I have it all, and that's it. And God needed to give me a voice that will be able to break through barriers and set people free, especially broken people. I didn't know that at that time. I saw it as a period where life was choking me. And all of those happened, and fast forward, I entered a season in my life that I have always prayed, like, God, whatever you do, do not let me go through divorce. I don't want to. I did everything to keep my marriage. I did everything to be that perfect wife, but it wasn't enough. But God wanted to give me a voice.
Yes.
And so I went into that isolation period when I went through a horrible divorce, and shame crept in. That's one of the things that I talked about in this book. Shame crept in. And that spirit of shame so wrapped me around, and I was thinking, I was just ordained as a minister then.
Yes.
How am I going to face the world? What am I going to tell them? And that spirit of shame almost took my voice. I couldn't talk. I couldn't go some certain places at a time. I'm thinking, what will people say? And the more I tread that path, the more the spirit kept telling me, your shame has been taken away by the cross. I have given you a voice. You need to find your identity in this crisis now. This is not to end you. This is not to silence you forever. This is actually for you to find your real you, what you've been uniquely created to a role that has been designed for you to play. You need to find it now and step into it. You need to unmute yourself and roar. And then I had to get up and started to fight that spirit of shame. I knew that this is my reality. Now I'm divorced. Now what? I had to come out by myself. I cried. I did all I had to do. I had my moment, because come on, people don't just tell you, don't cry, just let it go. This is life. No, there comes a time where you need to cry it out, where you need to mourn. Nobody should tell you how to go through your season. You understand? So I had that moment, and it got to a time I had this revelation about what God was doing. So it was up to me to give myself the permission to accept what Christ did at the cross. I got a clear revelation what the cross means for me. So I had to get up and tell myself, I will give myself the permission to accept, to be loved, not by any other person, not by husband now, because husband was out of the picture at that time then. Not by husband, not by the children, not by friends. I lost everything at that time. I said, I will give myself the permission to feel the Father's love, to understand why Christ died for me, the love that pushed God to give his only son for me. And I started to dig. The more I got the revelation of the cross, the more I was bold. The more I came out, even as a divorcee at that time, I started to feel my role. I started to step into the shoes that God ordained for me. I stepped into the shoes and I started to open my mouth and begin to speak. Even the church tried to mute me. Now she's a divorcee. Who's going to invite her as a gospel artist? But I used my own platform at that time to prepare myself, to unmute myself and roar. Shame is a killer. Shame will mute you. And by the time you begin to mess around with the spirit of shame, you enter guilt and then self-condemnation. Sometimes, even though we're not responsible for what happened to us, the enemy will trick us into believing that we brought this on ourselves. And then we cannot forgive ourselves. But the cross gave you and I a second chance. That's what I explained in this book, that you carry so many greatness in you, so many beauty. Imagine how God turned it around. After many years, God gave me the man of my dream, the man after his own heart, a prophet to the nation. Bless me with more children. And here I stand. Imagine if I had allowed myself to drown in self-condemnation, guilt, shame, and unforgiveness. It was a very tough journey. But the understanding of the cross, sis, is what got me through that season. And that's the reason why I was so passionate about putting these books together. All of these books.
Yes. Yes. You know, yeah. Because for me, sometimes there's a tendency to think that God is only there when the things are good. And when you're going through the difficult and the challenging times, oh, where is he? He's still there.
Yeah.
You know, and I looked at a part of your, I know we're talking about Umute and Roar, but I wanted to kind of touch something on Unleash and the birthing season. And, you know, there was a section there where you talked about at the potter's house. When you're talking about, you know, being molded and being shaped into what God wanted you to become.
That's right.
But the process was painful.
It was.
And to get to the stage of to Umute and Roar, there is a process, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I wanted you to touch a bit on how, even though in the uncomfortability of your growth, how were you able to surrender, let go, and allow God to do what he wanted to do in you?
Thank you. Yes, we're talking about Umute and Roar, but this book, for real, like you just said, Unleash led to this, you know, the process. My mom said to me at one point, I wanted her to pray it out. I'm like, you need to pray this out. I won't go through this. And I've served God for years. I've done everything right. Why should I go through this? And my mom was like, why not you? She said to me, I can't pray this out. She said, I can't. I won't. And it's not possible. Said the Lord, I should tell you, this is a process. And the earlier you surrender to the potter, the faster you're going to get to your place of assignment and begin to fulfill your role. And I remember my mom literally composed the song, because my mom is also a singer. I got it from her. My mom literally composed the song by herself about releasing yourself in the hand of the potter. I was so angry when she sent me that song. I'm like, yeah, at that point I'm thinking, what are you talking about? You need to pray this out. And she sent me the song and said, this is your song. You need to be singing the song and let it sink inside of you and submit yourself to the potter. By the time I realized what God was doing and saw the big picture, it was easy for me to let go of whatever idea that I had at that time, how God was going to do it, how God was going to stop this divorce, how God was going to get me out of this mess. It wasn't about him get me out of the mess. I was in there for him to shape me, to mold me. And there is a role that every one of us need to fit in. You can't just come out and start acting something that you've not been trained to do. And in the potter's house, that's exactly where he knows. He's the script writer. He knows exactly what he has ordained you and I. So I had to come to that point in my life where I stopped really fighting. I stopped fighting the will of God. I saw what God was doing, even in my pain. God was using me to be a blessing to people. At that, in that season, I went to the Caribbean, and God used me mightily to bless women. And I just from one day to the other, I just like something just clicked in me. And I said to myself one day, I said, this is over. I'm not going to cry anymore. I'm not going to beg anymore. I'm not going to feel sorry for myself in the place of prayers. I know that my Father, I started talking to myself. The moment you unmute yourself, the first person you need to talk to is you. I started to talk to myself. Really, I get a mirror in front of me and I begin to have conversation with myself. I said, God has not brought me this far to disgrace me. I started to tell myself the right words that I needed at that time. And those words became healing for me. I even put lots of them in songs. They helped me that season to heal. And I kept telling myself, God did not bring me this far to disgrace me. He knows what he's doing. I'm in the hand of the potter. When he's done with me, he's going to showcase me. When he's done with me, all of this is going to make sense. I might not know the reason why this is happening, but seriously, at this point, I don't care. This is how I was talking to myself. I knew God was up to something big, and revelation started coming. I just said to the Father, you know what? When you are done, you will take the glory. At this point, wherever you ask me to go, I'll go. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. Husband or no husband, I'm cool. That was my confession. And my words that I spoke to myself became the very seed that grew and made me a lioness.
I love that. You spoke to yourself.
Yes.
You encouraged yourself. You spoke to that shame. You spoke to that pain.
Yes.
And you said, you know what? This is just a season, but I'm rising and I'm coming through. And you were talking, and you were talking about a seed that was sown at that time, and that seed, and how that seed has blossomed and is, you know, is blessing women all over the world. I was thinking about the chains were falling off. No longer in captivity.
No.
You know, when you think about captivity, you think about chain, and you think about somebody who is in prison and not able to kind of move around freely. They cannot actually fulfill destiny, and they cannot actually fulfill the purpose, really. So those chains have to come off. And I love the fact that you were saying that you were talking to yourself, and the lion in you was roaring. Now, what I wanted to ask you is that while you were going through the experience, while you were growing and coming out of this experience, did you have a support network? You know, sometimes people find it hard to go through a situation by themselves. It's like, I need people around me. I want people to support me and hold me up. But sometimes some seasons is a season of just being by yourself. How was it for you?
Oh, I know you've read the book, Unleash. You know I talked about the season of isolation.
Yes.
I desperately wanted at one point that all the people that I have helped, that I have stood for, they should now get up and stand for me. But no chance. The more I crave for that circle, the more God was just taking people away and allowing the things that I wanted to rest on, allow them to just break off. So at the point, I knew this was a calculated act from heaven, that God was seeking for my attention, that I need you alone. So yes, I went through a season where there was no help. There was no help. Nobody understood me that time. There was no compassion, no nothing. That was the point that I was driven to allow myself to feel the real love, because everybody just like, you know, she's the queen, finally, let her feel what it feels like. Everybody turned their back on me in one season. But it wasn't because they just wanted to. I got the revelation that, listen, God is telling me I need you to come to this season of isolation so I can show you how you have been built. To recognize my strength. To recognize what I can do without them. So at the time, once again, I accepted the isolation season. But when it was time that God knew that, okay, I've gotten your attention. You know what this is about. You're ready to fulfill your role. You're okay with what I'm doing. He trusted me then to know that, all right, you no longer need all those things that you thought you needed, you know. And God started bringing the right people into my life as the support, as pillars to raise me up again. God said, when God started sending people, one, my spiritual mother in Blesser in London, she ordained me as an evangelist. And that was the period when I met my present husband too. So God brought these two people, and I had my kid sister, our last born, also in London. Suddenly God brought these people in my life. They were upholding me in every area. God just allowed me to see his hand. Because in one season, the season of isolation, at the beginning I thought, you've just left me here to die. I can't see you, I can't feel you. I don't even know what you're doing if you've totally forgotten me in here. But in that season, after he has shaped me and shown me how he has created me and all the things that he has embedded in me, he released me into that season where I saw his hand literally working things out for me through the support system that he put in place at that time to uphold me.
You know what? I want you to speak to that woman that is listening right now, who's actually going through that season. I want you to speak a word to her.
Listen, oh woman, this is me, a testimony of a survivor. People that know me, I have been through a lot, but I came out as a refined diamond. I don't know what you're going through right now, but I'm telling you, there is a reason for it.
Yes.
You are not just here on this earth to just have babies. Just get married and have babies and play housewife. Oh, it's more than that, oh woman. And sometimes the reason why God shake your foundation and allow some things to fall off is to wake you up and tell you, you are a woman, you are a king maker. Women, we are king makers. And there are so many things that God has embedded in us that we carry. We are precious seed carriers. And the enemy knows that, oh woman, and he's fighting your crown. He's fighting the real thing that God has placed inside of you to be all that you've been ordained to be, not competing with others. Not wanting to be another. So yes, sometimes God takes you through that season that you understand what is in you. So I need you to get up and say to yourself, the season of crying and feeling sorry for myself is over. I need you to get a big mirror if you don't have one and start talking to yourself. Start speaking life into yourself. Start encouraging yourself. Don't wait for another to do it. Doesn't matter if you're married. Sometimes you're married and you don't have the support of that man. Don't blame him. God is calling you into isolation to show you what you're made of, to show you the stuff that is in you. So I dare you, I double dare you to start talking to yourself, telling yourself the right word and tell yourself, this season is over for me. I'm going to enter into isolation with the potter. I'm going to submit myself in the hand of the potter. I'm going to release myself into the hands of the script writer. He owns the script, so he knows exactly the role that you have been designed to play. Do not walk through life just trying to be somebody else and trying to fake it to make it. Listen to me, you woman. Do not. The owner of the script knows exactly what he has ordained you to be. So you need to submit into his hands. Get up, summon courage. There is strength inside of you. What he's going to do, he's going to do it through that thing inside of you. Stop looking outside. It's in you. I don't care how weak you feel like right now. All the things that I was able to do during my season where I went through that divorce, I felt weak, but the strength of Jehovah was rising strong and mightier in me. So don't tell yourself how weak you feel. There is strength in you, and you are able to rise up. You are able to unmute yourself. It is in your nature to roar. Do not let shame, guilt, feeling sorry for yourself, unworthiness, limitation. Do not let all these things mute you. You have a voice. There is something you have been assigned to do. Get out of your cocoon and start walking on the path that God has designed for you. Once again, it is in your nature to roar. Do not settle with chickens. Do not settle with tortoises. Do not settle crawling on the floor. He has given you strong wings to soar like an eagle. Rise up. Open your mouth. Give yourself that permission to unmute yourself and roar like a lioness that you are.
And I wanted you to, thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
And I wanted you to talk about the platform you have for mothers, the monthly program that you have for mothers that come together to pray. I want you to talk a little bit about it and how people can join it, and how people can participate in that. And we're also, I'm going to put in the comments section later on how people can get the book. You know, this book is so incredible. You can even use it as a teaching tool with your women's group. You can use it as a teaching tool for women's ministry, for your book club in your church, and even with your organization. There's so many nice life lessons to be learned from this book. So I would really encourage everyone that's on here and people that are going to be listening later on. You need to hit Amazon, right? And you need to hit that buy it now button.
That's right.
So can you talk about the mothers platform that you have, that the meetings, the prayer meeting that you have every month?
Yeah. So by the grace of God, I try to do that monthly.
Okay.
And that's also this book, Mother Prayers. Yes. And every time you will see the flyer on my Facebook, on my Instagram, and this is a Zoom meeting, so there's no excuse like, oh, I can't travel down to Manchester because we live in Manchester. This is a Zoom meeting, and the reason why, so that other women from all over the world, they are able to connect, they are able to join in and feel safe. It is an online program. We don't go Facebook Live, but we meet on Zoom, and you can come in and stand for yourself and for your children, because it is only when you are up here, balance, when you have given yourself the right medication that you need to get yourself to a point where you no longer feel like a slave. When I'm talking about the right medication, the Word of God, that's why this book, yes, the right medication that you need to clean your mind. That's where you can also raise healthy children. That's where you can also speak into the lives of your children. And this mother's prayer help women to come together privately to pray, not just to pray, and also to release what's in their mind. Stand in the gap, bring your prayer points for yourself, for your children, and we all agree in one accord and we see results. But we also empower you in that meeting, just like what I said before, to get here on point, to get balance in your mind, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, as a woman, to take charge, because you are the prophetess, the mouthpiece of God, to speak life and into your children, and to bring them into the path that God has ordained originally for them. You are that person. So mother's prayer is something you shouldn't miss. Connect. You will see it on my platform.
Yes, fantastic. So they can go to your Instagram
Facebook
platform
and Instagram.
Facebook and Instagram. You can get the information from there if you want to connect with her. Those are places. Facebook is in the main.
I'm more current on Facebook.
You need to. What is it on Facebook? Is it Iyobo for Christ?
Evangelist Iyobo for Christ.
Okay. So that's what you need to search for, and then you'll be able to get it on Facebook. Yes. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And there was something else that I wanted. Yeah. So on Sundays, what time is your service?
Our services is 10 in
Okay.
the morning, 10 to 12
Mm-hmm.
in Manchester.
In Manchester, the addresses as well and things like that. I'll try and get all that information from you, and I'll
That's
put it in the
fine.
comment section. And if you want to speak to her one-on-one, you know where to get her: Facebook and Instagram. And for me, it's a blessing to have her. Actually, it's an honor to have her here today, because what she's spoken about. Though she's speaking to women, I believe men can get something out of it as well.
Absolutely.
Yes, and so it's really for everyone. Like I said, I'll put the links to the books, the 3 books, for you to be able to get it, and also how you can contact her. I just want to say thank everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and we will see you later. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.